What's going on, guys? It's Vices MMA, and today I want to make a quick video talking about Sean Strickland securing the middleweight title shot with the recent fight announcement of Robert Whittaker and Khamzat Chimaev fighting at UFC Abu Dhabi as the 5-round co-main event of that card, and the middleweight strap going on the line at UFC 305 in the main event being Dricus du Plessis versus Israel Adesanya. But I want to talk about a possible fight and Sean Strickland capturing that middleweight title shot probably next, unless if Robert Whittaker or Khamzat Chimaev does something absolutely crazy at UFC 308 and is willing to make a quick turnaround to fight for the belt. If you guys enjoyed the UFC content, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. That is the best way to show support to the channel. And please go down there and hit the post notifications button if you always enjoy listening to UFC content and different breakdowns on different UFC things, because I try to release content daily. But let's jump right into the video of Sean Strickland getting the title shot against the winner of Dricus du Plessis versus Israel Adesanya. Okay, so just very recently, Dana White came out and announced the UFC 308 Abu Dhabi main event card, which was an absolute stacked card. But the fight that stood out to me the absolute most here, besides the Magomed Ankalaev versus Alexander Rakic fight, was the Robert Whittaker versus Khamzat Chimaev fight. And this fight was already scheduled in earlier this year in Saudi Arabia, but it was rumored that Robert Whittaker was going to fight Sean Strickland for a #1 contender match in the middleweight division, presumably sometime very soon here. But Sean Strickland said he was going to hold out and he wasn't going to take this fight, and it ended up coming true that Robert Whittaker is going to fight Khamzat Chimaev or sign that deal again to have that fight done in Abu Dhabi this time, and Sean Strickland is probably going to wait and sit out for the middleweight title shot. As we all know, Sean Strickland's last fight was against Paulo Costa, but previously before that, he fought Dricus du Plessis in the UFC 297 main event, which was a very close split decision in favor of Dricus du Plessis winning the middleweight strap. But I do think that this Sean Strickland news is absolutely massive. We all know that at UFC 293, he won one of the most dominant performances against Israel Adesanya as a -600, or as a underdog to Israel Adesanya, who is -600 to win that fight, which was one of the biggest upsets in UFC history. So I do think Sean Strickland still has all the juice in the world. In that fight against Paulo Costa, it might not have been the most exciting fight in the world, but he did look really good in that fight. But I definitely have to say that Sean Strickland is going to get the winner of this, and I think that it's going to be super exciting. We all know about the action-packed fight coming up between Dricus du Plessis and Israel Adesanya, and I've made a lot of videos on that, so if you want to go see any of those, please go check out some of the other videos on my channel. I have a couple videos talking about the Israel Adesanya versus Dricus du Plessis fight, but I do think that either of the rematches for Sean Strickland is going to be absolutely a banger fight. If you get that Israel Adesanya rematch, you have the biggest upset probably in UFC history, recolliding and reuniting to get a second fight right there. And Dricus du Plessis versus Sean Strickland was an amazing, fun fight, and a lot of the UFC community wanted that fight to happen over a fight with Israel Adesanya. But ultimately, truly, I think Sean Strickland's got some of the best, striking in the game, and he's been training with Alex Pereira a lot in Danbury, Connecticut, and I think that's only going to make him a better fighter as time goes on. 100%, you saw that after Sean Strickland fought Alex Pereira, he went over there immediately to train with him, and that was one of the best things he could have ever done. Alex Pereira is so smart and is so willing to share all of his knowledge, and he's so hungry to regain and capture that heavyweight title to be the first 3-division champion inside the UFC, and I think that Alex Pereira is more than welcome to share stuff with all the other individuals that want to come train with him and that want to come help him. So I think that Sean Strickland learning from one of the best strikers in the UFC, and someone who knocked him out cold, and someone who knocked Israel Adesanya out, really helped him with his defense, especially against the left hook, which is Alex Pereira's signature weapon. But I do think that every little bit of training that Sean Strickland does, all the sparring and everything like that, is something that really aids him in every single piece of combat that he has and instills in his fighting career. You look at all of the combat he does, apparently there's the specific mouth guard that some of these fighters were given, and Sean Strickland spars the most out of every single fighter that wore the mouth guard, but he also got hit the least when he was sparring out of every single fighter with wearing that specific mouth guard. Now, why do I talk about this mouthguard situation? But it just shows that Sean Strickland is so intelligent and is so good with putting his head in his blocking his shots in that Israel Adesanya masterclass. It was one of the best things to ever see. He was blocking shots prior to them even coming. He was predicting Israel Adesanya's movement before he was moving there, and it was one of the greatest performances ever. And then the Dricus du Plessis fight, Sean Strickland's eye was bleeding, but that really came from a head clash between the two. Not saying Dricus wasn't hitting him, but a lot of that bleeding didn't come from a Dricus punch rather than a head clash between the two different fighters. But I do think that Sean Strickland will face the winner of Dricus du Plessis versus Israel Adesanya, barring something absolutely major happening between Robert Whittaker and Khamzat Chimaev in that fight, and them being able to turn around very quickly for a title defense in January or February, sometime very, very soon. Sean Strickland is one of the UFC's most valuable fighters. The fan and community love him, and a lot of different fighters don't want to face him in that middleweight division because of how stylistically hard of a matchup he is, because of that Philly shell style, great takedown defense, great IQ, and truly one of the best fighters in that middleweight division. And I think if he has a fight with Israel Adesanya or Dricus du Plessis again, all the fans within the community would love the organization for putting that fight on. Thank you guys so much for watching this episode of Fight Season MMA, and please let me know what you think about Sean Strickland possibly getting the next middleweight title shot. I do think that it is a pretty much just found thing at this point, just because the Robert Whittaker and Khamzat Chimaev fight is going to happen, and I think the winner of that fight will sit out and take the winner of Dricus du Plessis and Israel Adesanya versus Sean Strickland in that fight. Now, I could see Khamzat Chimaev having to fight one more fight before getting that title shot, but 100% Robert Whittaker is going to get a title shot if he beats Khamzat Chimaev. But if you guys enjoyed the UFC content, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. That is the best way to show support to the channel. And also, please go down there and hit the post notifications button, just so you guys are always notified when I release UFC content, and just so you guys are there to help support the channel in the near future. Thank you guys so much for watching this episode of Fight Season MMA, and I will catch you guys very soon with more UFC content and news.